Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Musical Mondays. Weird to say another episode, but I'm glad that you're back with me today. I'm hoping to share just a little bit about my lessons from the week and some ideas about getting the most out of kindergarten in the first couple weeks of school. So I'm really excited that you decided to come and spend your Monday evening with me talking a little bit about music education. In case you don't know me, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas obviously here on Facebook. I've been sharing a lot on Instagram, especially in stories, about my classroom and setting up, and trying to share a lot of pictures and things there because I'm a visual person, so I like seeing those pictures. So I'm hoping to share more on Instagram, but I'm on Instagram and Pinterest and Twitter and all over. So anyway, I'm really excited to be back again. Thank you for coming back for the second one. So last week after the video, I learned a couple things. So I just want to give you a quick recap. I went through all of the comments and questions that you left on the video last week. So, really cool. It was really cool. I've realized that I miss stuff as things are going along. Like people are writing things down and I'm missing them because I'm trying to focus on getting started. But if you leave a question, I will try to go back and answer it at the end of the video. And if I don't do that, I promise I will go back through the week and actually type out an answer. I've tried to be really good at doing that. If I missed your question, I'm really sorry. Facebook is wonky sometimes. And so I'm just doing my best to go back and answer those. But what I really liked about those questions, when you leave questions or comments on the video itself, is that it sort of starts a dialogue, and it was really cool to see other teachers sort of say like, oh yeah, I also thought that, or I also had that question, or I use this resource, or whatever. Because that's really what I want, is I want to make connections with other music teachers, and I really want us to have this great community. And so to see you guys interacting and to be able to interact with you through those comments was really wonderful. So if you have questions as we go along, leave them in the comment box here, and I'll try and answer them on the video, and if I can't do that, I'll answer them afterwards. I also noticed a lot of emojis. I don't know if Facebook is telling you to wave at me or whatever, but it's funny to just see all those, and I don't know how to, do I like that? Do I wave back? I don't know, it's funny. Anyway, so the other thing I noticed is that after last week's video, I asked y'all to go in and do a quick feedback form on Google Docs or Google Forms or whatever, and that was your way to enter for the yarn ball, the Magic Yarn Ball giveaway, which I will announce in a little bit. But thanks to so many people who went through and answered those couple quick questions, things that I learned. Most people really liked the format of going through all of my lessons K through 5 really sort of quickly and then focusing on the one grade. Some people are like, I'd like to see focus on all grades. Well, you can come and observe my 6 class, my 8-hour workday if you'd like to come to Woodstock, Georgia. You're welcome to do that. Just give me a heads up. But I can't do that in a video. So what I did know is that some people said, I really liked going through those other things for the grades, but you mentioned that one song, where can I find that, or whatever. If there's a song or something that I mention in that quick recap of K through 5 that I don't focus on that grade, you can send me either a direct message, a DM, or you can send me an email at makemomentsmatter@gmail.com, and I will happily say, oh, it's in this book that I found, or it's in this thing, or whatever, and I will send that back. The other thing you mentioned is for the grade that we do the deep dive on, you said you'd like to have more links, or if I talk about a specific blog post, you're like, where's the link to that? Well, I tried last week putting in the comments, and I don't know that that worked so well. So what I did is I went on my blog and I added another page, and I called it Musical Mondays Recaps. You can search that on makemomentsmatter.org, or hopefully if it worked, in the caption for this video and the caption for the previous video, I put that direct link. So what I'm going to do there is that when the video's over, I'm going to sort of go back and look through your questions, and if you're like, where's the blog post for the instrument rules, or where's the blog post for whatever, and I'll put a link there, and that'll be there always and forever. And so that link, like I said, is on this caption for this video, I guess. And also you can just search for it on my blog, Musical Mondays Recap, or send me an email, whatever, and I'll send it to you. Okay, well, so just a heads up, so the format for this video, and thanks to everybody who's joined in, the plan for this video is to do a quick recap of first, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade lessons for the week. Then I'll do a deep dive into kindergarten, all the stuff that I use, why and how that sort of works. And then at the end, I have some yarn ball tips and tricks. I'll announce the winner of the yarn ball giveaway and send an email to that person, get that shipped out, because I made a new yarn ball for this person. But I'm also going to give you tips and tricks if you want to make your own yarn balls. And it's really cool. Some people posted pictures on the last video of the ones that they had made, and they look great. But I wanted to give you just a couple tips and tricks if you wanted to make your own, some cool things and sort of different things that I've tried that have worked sort of well. So that's my plan. Let me jump in and just sort of take you through what I do for first through fifth grade. It's weird that I am on my second full week with students and I am only on my second lesson with students. So there are kids who I saw today and they've been to school for, this is their 9th day, but it's their 2nd day in music. So, and that first day, you know, like of course was crazy. So basically, in that first day, my very first day of plans, what I always do is I try and do the things I'm required to do. So like the school rules, I get them in, I like do a name game, and I try and do something fun because I want them to want to come back to music a second time, if that makes sense. I don't try and bog it down and like do the, you know, like when you're in college and the professor like reads the syllabus to you, like those days were terrible and no one wanted to go to them and you didn't get excited about, you know, caveman chemistry or whatever you saw in the view book. You're like, that's going to be an awesome course. And then you get there the first day and you're like, this sucks. So I don't want that to happen for my students. And so on that first day, I try and do something that's really exciting and gets them energized about music and wanting to come back. So on the second day, you're going to see in almost all my grades that I do my seating plan and I do my teams for grades 2 through 5. That just is in every grade. You're going to see that in just a second. But I do that because I don't want to overload day 1 because they'll get just so bored. So I try and space it out the first 1, 2, 3 lessons. The first lesson I do the required rules and a name game. The second time I do seating chart and pictures and stuff, and you'll see that in a second. And the third time, the third rotation, I always try and do emergency drills. I try and space out that stuff that like I have to do it, and I try and get it done in the first 3 rotations. So I'm going to skip kindergarten because I'm coming back to that one in just a second. First grade, they come into the circle song, the one that I talked about last week. And I actually, on that page I mentioned, I posted the chords progression for that. The come and make a circle, circle, circle. I'm going to check with my friend Andrew and see where that song came from. And then if I can post it for you, I will. I do a welcome back to school recap. Like I said, that's from Game Plan Grade 1. And it's a fun little song. But what I've noticed is the song goes something like, welcome back to school, can you clap your hands 5 times? And then they just do it. And I get annoyed. So I say like, you know, can you clap your hands 5 times? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Now we clap our hands 5 times, and then we do it. And I always make a joke about kindergarten. They don't know anything. Can you clap your hands 5 times? No, we can't. No, we can't. Can you stand up nice and tall? No, we can't. No, we can't. Because kindergarten, they just don't know. They're learning. So first grade, I always say, oh, you got to sit there and go, yes, we can. Yes, we can. And then we do it. And I don't know, it's silly, but for some reason it works. Then I go into, since we're sitting in our circle and we just did a welcome back to school, we sit down and I pull out the poem, Bee, bee, bumblebee, stung a man upon his knee, stung a pig upon his snout, I say you are out. And so then it's sort of an elimination, and I have, of course, I have a bumblebee puppet from Folkmanis, which I love, and it's actually sort of cool because the bee sits on top of your hand and then your fingers go in and you get to be his little bee legs, which is a hoot. And then you get to sting the kids and then they're out, which is fun for some kids. So we do Bee Bee Bumblebee. We do that about 2 times through. Originally I just say the poem and then I buzz them out, but by the second time I've made it all the way around. They all know the poem. So I do, at the end I do stung a pig upon his snout, I say you are out. And what you could do is just go buzz, and then one kid is out. But that takes way too long, so I do, I say you are out. Buzz, 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 buzz. And then 4 kids are out at a shot, and they all sit down. And then I go on and I do it again. They love that. Then I do my seating chart, and I'll talk about that in just a second, how I do seating chart. Then we recap Little Bunny Foo Foo from last week. And then there's this really cool video, if we have time. It is a reading of the book Little Rabbit Foo Foo, but it's the book is animated and then they show it. And it's cool because I take my kids through, like, how is Little Rabbit Foo Foo, which is the video, different from Little Bunny Foo Foo that we did together? How's it different? And there are a lot of differences, like in the video, which you can find on YouTube, and I'll put a link to that. But in the video, it's Little Rabbit Foo Foo, and he rides a motorcycle through the forest. And the first time he picks up the field mice. The second time he picks up wriggly worms. The third time he picks up tigers, and he bops them all on the head. And the kids think that that's hilarious. Okay, so then that's first grade. Second grade, we come in, we do our circle song. We recap Ram Sam Sam from the previous week, so I went through that one last time. This time I sort of challenge them. I take out Gooly Gooly, and then I take out Rafiq. The best one is when you take out just the Ram Sam Sam. That's hard for them. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in the last video I went through second grade lessons, so you can see the whole process of Ram Sam Sam there. But I just sort of recap that one because it's something that they know, and coming in I want them to be able to do something that they've done before and feel accomplished, and it's fun and it's a good skill to master. After Ram Sam Sam, we do our seating spots, and then I separate them out. Grades 2 through 5, each class I have separated into 4 families, and I think I talked about this last week. But it's basically teams, but I name them after the instrument family. So there's strings, percussion, woodwinds, and brass. And each kid I've gone through before, and I just sort of randomly, I went down the roster and I was like, strings, percussion, woodwinds, brass, strings, percussion, woodwinds, brass. You can spend time being very meticulous about, like, okay, Javea should not be with Jonathan and should not, or you can just sort of randomly go down your roster, and then once you see them in your teams, be like, oh, no, you need to move over there, and then change it in your roster. But if I've spent years where I like spend hours and hours and hours going through beforehand, and then I spend the time in class anyway being like, oh wait, no. So it's better for me to just see kids. And if you're new to your school, you can at any point just change who goes where. So I put them into their 4 teams. I wrote a whole blog post about that, and I think I linked that in the last video. But I just put them in their 4 teams, and then for second grade, what I do is I play a little bit of music. I made a playlist on Spotify or on my iTunes or something, and it's just basically soundtrack music from movies that I think that is fun, but maybe they probably won't know. So like I don't play Darth Vader's Imperial March because they know that one, but I might play something from the new Star Wars that sounds like Star Wars, but they don't have memorized. And I do different genres and things, and they move around to the music, and when the music stops, it's sort of like musical chairs. They have to go back to their corner of the room where their family is sitting. And I do that for a couple of reasons. 1, it gets them moving. 2, it's movement. It has them moving to different genres of music. And then the third thing is, every time it stops, they go back to their corner. They see their family's flag again. They re-identify who's in their family, and then we do it all again. And they like it. But it's a great way for me to reinforce those family things. And then, if we have time, we recap Lucy Locket, because they really don't know it all that well. Usually for most of my classes, we didn't have a lot of time to get to it, so we get to it this week. We go through it and we sing and play the game, which I talked about last week. Second grade was our deep dive last week, so if you want to just sort of see a lot more into some of those songs, head back to the other video. Third grade, they come in a scattered formation. We do an echo, and then we do a quick recap of Circle Around the Zero. This time I sort of take myself out of it. I play ukulele for that, and it's in C, the way I play it, so it's just easy for me to stand back and sing if I need to, but I let the kids sort of take ownership right away. They love it, and then they, I let them go one by one. I think I talked about this last week, but I let them go one by one, so Circle Around the Zero, and there's just one kid skipping, and then they switch, and then they switch. And then eventually I say, oh no, only half the magic transferred. I talked about this last week, I hope. But if not, if you know circle around the zero, they switch. Back, back, zero, side, side, zero, front, front, zero, find your love in zero, and then they switch. And eventually I say like, oh no, only half the magic transferred. Now both of the people who are in that pair have to skip. And then we do that again, and then I say, oh no, the magic didn't transfer all the way. Now all 4 of you have to skip. If I didn't talk about that one, someone throw a comment at me and I'll either do it at the end of the video or I'll do it in the next video. But Circle Around the Zero is a really, really fun song and they like it a lot. We do our seating chart spots. We do our families. This time I do something a little different. 2nd grade I did the movement and stop. 3rd grade what I do, I have an interactive whiteboard. It's not a smart board. It's a Promethean board. I sort of hate it because it doesn't work as well as a smart board and it's really old. But what I do is I have them sit in their different families and I pull up on my smart board, Promethean board, whatever, an interactive game that I've made. It's sort of a Star Wars theme. It's called Use the Force. And the kids have to go through, and for each character, like Han Solo, they have to do ta-ta-dee, or ta-ti-ti, whatever you call it. And there are options. So like they'll see Han Solo's picture, little cartoon. They'll see his name, and then on the bottom are 3 different options. Is Han Solo a ta and a rest? Is it a ta and a titi? Is it a takadimi ta? You know, it's like 3 different options. And they have to pick the right one. And if they pick the right one, we can go on. If they pick the wrong one, Darth Vader shows up and goes like, oh no! And you gotta try again. They think that's hilarious. So what I tell them to do is, they go up sort of on their own. It's a great way for me to sit back and assess, like, what do they remember from last year? How are they doing identifying rhythms and syllables and all of that? And then I say, if you need help, go back to your team and get your teammates to help. And they're like, oh, it's a team game. No, it's an individual assessment. But because they're sitting in teams, it makes them feel more like it's in teams. And so it's a team game. It's not a team game. But they love it, and it's sort of Star Wars themed, and it's fun. And it's something that they love to do. And anytime you do the smart board, they love the smart board. And then we do a song, if there's time, called My Mama Was a Baker. And I don't know if I shared about this one last time. My mama was a baker, a baker, a baker. My mama was a baker, and this is what she'd say. Mmm, mmm. And we talk about why she would make that sound, because she's baking delicious treats, and we talk a little bit about what she might bake. I like making cultural connections like that. So one kid today was like, a turkey, and I was like, well, that goes in the oven, but usually we call that a roasting or cooking or whatever. And so it's sort of fun for my language learners to talk about bake versus cook or whatever, but also it's fun to just talk about those things that help them connect. So we do Mama Was a Baker. The next verse, Daddy was a garbage man. So he does not say, he says, P-U. And then it's a cumulative song. So at the end of the verse, my daddy was a garbage man, and this is what he say, P-U. So daddy's not saying, it's mama. She's popping up from behind daddy's back. And so with each verse, when you add in a new character, they say their new thing, and then the old people chime in, people who've already gone, and they chime in their thing too. By the time you're done, you've got grandma and grandpa and brother, sister, and mom and daddy. It's just a fun song. It's an octave range, so it's good for their range. They like it, they think it's funny, and it's a great way to make cultural connections and get them excited about music in the first couple weeks. 4th grade, 5th grade, when they come in, they clap. We do just like clapping and patting, body percussion, echoing. This week, when they come in, I just do a regular like, and they clap, and I'm like, that's perfect, but it's too loud. Let's try it again. And I do. And they do their clap. I'm like, that's so good. It's just too loud. And so I do that 3 or 4 times, and by the time oh, sorry, my Facebook just cut out. I hope you're still there. So for that 4th or 5th time, I'm saying, it's too loud, it's too loud. The kids are like, trying to be really quiet, which is hilarious. But one of the things that I like about it is we can talk about what's a musical clap. Are there different ways to clap? And I say, try it like this, you know, or try like this, or try like this, or try like this, or try like this. And the reason I do that, it's sort of just, it's a playful thing. That's sort of an Orff idea, is to work through play and work through different possibilities. And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to open up avenues so that when we do get to something else where they're creating, they can see that you can do lots of different options, even for something as simple as padding. Also, it gets them to listen and not just smack your hands together as hard as you can. You're actually doing something musical. So I do that for 4th and 5th grade. It really irritates them at first, but then they like it. 4th grade, we run through Chester, which is the song I talked a little bit about last week, do our seating chart stuff, and then we sit in our families. We separate out into the family spots. And in each family spot, then this week in 4th grade, I talk about imitation. I talk about echo imitation, canonic imitation, and simultaneous imitation. Those are the 3 types that we talk about the most. And then we play a little game called Beat Detective, which probably you've played a version of, where you stand in a circle and there's one kid in the circle who's leading the clapping on a steady beat, and everyone else is echoing them, or well, not echo, everyone else is matching them with simultaneous imitation. And then when they switch, when that leader switches, another person everyone else switches. I hope that makes sense. So the leader is changing them from either like patting to clapping to stomping or whatever. Well, you send one kid out in the hall who doesn't know who the leader is, and it's their job to figure out who's leading these changes. Basically, it's just a lesson in simultaneous imitation and being able to switch when that person switches, but also to be so sneaky that the beat detective won't be able to figure out in 3 chances or less who the beat leader is. It's a super fun game. It's super simple, but it's a great way to demonstrate the simultaneous imitation, and they love it, and they want to come back. 5th grade, we do our clap. We do the too loud echo, which they think is hilarious. Or I think is hilarious. I don't know. Either way, we still do it. We go right into our seating chart spots. Normally, I sort of put that in the middle, like an Oreo, like it's the middle part of the lesson, but for 5th grade, I don't. And that's because we do our seating chart spots, we do our families, we sit in our families, and then the bulk of the lesson is Alabama Gal, which is a folk song. It's actually, I did a favorite folk song set, and it's a freebie in my Teachers Pay Teachers store, so I'll put a link to that. But Alabama Gal is a super, super fun song, and it's got a great folk dance that is really not hard, especially for 5th grade. It's probably, this is too easy for 5th grade, but because it's the very first sort of folk dance, folk song lesson that they do, it's good to have an easier one, because they're like, oh, I gotta like touch my neighbor again, like we gotta hold hands. Oh no. So it's an easy sort of lead in for them, and it's a good song. It's a really good song, and like I said, it's a freebie in my Teachers Pay Teachers store, so if you want to get all the resources I use for that, you can get that on my store, and I'll put a link to that. One of the things I wanted to sort of just take a second to talk about is the seating chart thing. I think that that's really important. I always put that in the second lesson of the year, and one of the things that I do on my iPad at school, I'm thinking about doing a live video about this, but on my iPad at school I have this app called Idokio, and it is amazing. It's a pain in the butt right now because there's a little bit of work you have to do to make it really, really work for you, but you can customize like the pudding out of this thing. You can color code, you can change by classes, you can put them in groups. I put my instrument families in there. You can put in like 10 different seating charts for each class. You can have all this information connected. You can take grades. It'll export to Excel. Like, it's a magic program. You buy it once, and it's like $7.99 or $9.99. You buy it once, and you can use it every school year until iPads are no longer a thing. And it's amazing, but one of the things that I do in this lesson is that we sit in our seating chart spots, which I have already pre-assigned. I just sort of do it alphabetically or whatever. And then one of the things I do with Idokio is I can go in and I can snap their pictures. I can even snap 4 kids at once, and Idokio will do like face detection. And so like once I'm sitting there with my seating chart, I can click and drag the face of the kid onto their profile. So then later, in my class with 4 Averys, I can see which Avery is which because I've already taken their picture beforehand. So that's what I love about Idokio. What I love about seating charts, and I said this in my podcast episode with Tracy King a week or so ago, is that I always hated seating charts for a long time. I thought they were really restrictive. And then I tried them because I was in a school that I had a lot of kids and some behavior issues, and they needed the seating charts. And a kid came in on an open house with their parents, and I was like, oh, you're going to show them the guitars, or you're going to show them the drums. And she walked them over and said, this is my spot. This is where I get to sit. And I was like, okay, I'm sold. If like, you're walking your parent in and being like, that's my seat. You know, kids like knowing that like this is their spot and it will always be their spot, and they have some safety in that. So I believe in seating charts. Even if I don't use them every lesson, at least the kid knows where it is. And if I say we're going to go to our dot spots on the carpet, the kids know what that is. And it is really helpful for learning names. So there are a lot of great things. Speaking of names, when I go through, when I bring each kid over to their spot, I give them this sort of little speech, and I say something like, so I've got all your names here on my chart, and I'm going to call you over to your dot spot, but I pulled all of your names from the computer, and you guys know that the computer is sometimes wrong. So if I say your name wrong, like if I say Christopher and you want to be Chris, you know, or if I say Isabella and you go by Bella, just let me know and I'll fix it. Because I want to say your name the way that you want your name said. So if if it's, whatever, I will say it the right way. If you have a nickname, or if I'm saying your name the wrong way, please fix me, because I want to do it the way that you say it. And I think that that's really important. It's important to know kids' names, and it's important to use their real name, and to, I used to work with abused kids, and there are so many uncertainties for kids, and some kids don't know where they're going to be the next day. And for some kids, the only thing they have is their name. And so I try and make a real effort to say their name the way they want it to be said, and the correct way. And so I spend a lot of time about that. And then I also say, like, I'm going to fix it on here, on my seating chart, and then if I say it wrong later, I'm going to fix it on my iPad. It's going to take me a little while, but I'm going to fix it. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to get it. And so I do that. Okay, that's my spiel about seating charts. I see lots of great questions about them, and I will come back to that. Yeah, this is all stuff that will be great questions for when I do a video about Idokio, which I will plan to do. So, kindergarten. I'm just going to go sort of through all the stuff really quickly, and try and give you all the references I can. Thanks for sticking with me so far. Okay, so when kids come in the room, this is the second time I've seen them, and I always joke with people about how traumatic kindergarten is the beginning of the year. Not for me, but for the kids. Well, sometimes for me. But for the kids, because they've just finally gotten comfortable with not being with their parents and being with this new adult who they don't know, their homeroom teacher. And then after lunch, they're being ripped away from that person and sent down to this room where someone's singing at them, and it's bright and it's colorful. They're not used to it, and they don't have a seat. There are no desks. Like, what is going on? So for them, it's traumatic. So what I try and do is just make it as fun and as exciting as possible. I try and take all of the unknowns out for them, and really help them be more comfortable. So when they come in the room, I have them stay in their line, and I say, stay in your nice long line. Oh, you're doing so good with the line. I love how quiet this line is. And we just sort of file around the room just a little bit, sort of around my big dot carpet. And then once the door closes and their teacher's gone and I have their attention, I say, you know what? When you came in this room, I noticed you reminded me of something I've seen before, something outside, and it's not one of these. Honk, honk, it's not, what's that? I'm like, it's a car. Yeah, you don't remind me of a car. You don't remind me of, what's that? It's an airplane. Yeah, you don't remind me of that. How about, and they're like, helicopter. I'm like, yeah, you don't remind me of that. But this nice long line reminds me of something. And the other day I had a kid say, like, a snake. I was like, well, that doesn't really fit in with car and airplane and helicopter, but I like where your mind's going. And eventually kids are like, I like a train. Like, yes, a train. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So here's what I want us to do. Since we're already in this line, let's pretend to be a train. And you'll be so good at it. Stay in your spot on the line and take your arms and make some wheels. And I just make the wheel movement. Okay, you're going to put the wheels on your side, and then you're going to make this sound. And they love that. So then I say, oh my gosh, you're doing so great. And they're like, we're successful as a rudimentary train. Oh, but now if our wheels are moving and the sound from the engine is going, we got to get moving. And I say, but trains, are they like cars? Can they go wherever they want? No. What about, cars can airplanes can. Let's see. Okay. They have to follow the tracks, some kid says that. Okay, great. Well, I know where the tracks are, so I'll lead us. You just follow in your nice long line. Well, we do a couple laps around the carpet, and we're just doing choo, 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 choo. And then I go, oh, ready, stop. Oh, that was so good. And we do another one. And then I say, we're missing something. Trains have this thing. In a car, in the middle of the wheel, you go honk, honk, but trains don't have horns like that. Trains have something else. And eventually a kid comes up with a whistle or, whatever. Say, yes, but in trains they don't have the whistle here. You have to reach up and grab and pull on a chain and go, woo, woo. And I can't tell you how many kids have corrected me and been like, no, it's choo, choo. I'm like, no, woo, woo. And so we go around and then we do choo, 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 choo. And then I reach up and I say, watch for me reaching up. Here we go. Woo, woo, and then we stop. And then I say, oh, how about we go, woo, woo, stop. And you put your hands out like you see a preschooler who doesn't know where they're going, and you go, stop. Really, that's what people do to them. But that's what I tell them to do. So we do our choo, 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 and then I go, woo, woo, stop. And we do that a couple times. We get successful with that. And I say, oh my gosh, you're doing so good. You know what? I have a train song. And it goes like this. And I think this is from Orff Source Volume 1, but I think I also found it in another book, so I'm going to have to go look that up. But the song goes like this. Choo-choo train, choo-choo, I don't know, I'm doing this falsetto. Choo-choo train, copy me and do the same. Choo-choo train, woo, woo, stop. Did you hear something in that song that you already know? And they're like, yeah, the whistle. I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to sing the song. You do the whistle part. And all of this is what we call approximations. It's just getting them slowly to where I want them to go, but on each step, I want them to be successful. So we're sort of scaffolding our way into this song because they don't know it. And I could just sing it at them 3 or 4 times, but I'd rather have something more fun where we're moving because then they think less about their teacher is gone and they're going to cry. So then I sing, and they do the woo, woo, stop, okay? And then once we're all in as we're doing this, I'm sort of leading us around the room. We do 3 or 4 laps around the room, and then I sort of circle us up and around the carpet, and I say, oh man, you're doing so great! And then at the final time, we stop. I've just been singing, and then I just go right into our circle song, which even though they don't know it, and we're transitioning, they don't ask, but I just go right into the circle song. The one I do for K1-2, and grab hands and we sit down and we're there. We're at our circle spot. We're all around the carpet. We've made our circle. They had fun. We did our choo-choo, and then we're there. So on the first week, I taught them Engine number 9, which I do a little bit maybe differently. I don't just do the poem. I go through and I say, I've got this really great poem about a train, and I'm going to do it for you. And then I do the whole thing real quick. I just one time through. But I don't just do the poem just to do it. I've realized in my teaching, I do a lot of explaining, a lot of connecting to like the real world. And so I say, I have a train and it's number 9. That's its number. It's like its name, sort of. Does anyone here ride the bus? And I have like a bunch of kids raise their hand. Doesn't each bus look almost exactly the same? And they're like, yeah, it does. But there's one thing that makes each one different. And because each one has a number. There's 188, there's 540, and I do the bus drop off in the mornings, like I know all the numbers. So I mention the numbers and I say, just like that, and some kids are like, that's my bus. I'm like, yeah. And so then I go into engine number 9. 9 is its number. There are a lot of other numbers it could be, but 9 is its number. And I say, great. Maybe when we do engine number 9, on the word 9, you could hold up 9 fingers, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not enough. 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, wow. That's all my fingers except 1. We don't need 1. So we'll just have all our fingers except we'll take away 1. And your kindergarten teacher will love if you say that because that's takeaway. Also, I'm not going to take for granted that kids can show me 9 fingers. Most of them can't do that in the first week of kindergarten. So I like talk them through it. Okay, engine number 9. And then I say, this one's going to Chicago. And the Chicago line is really bumpy. So hold on to your train car. And you're holding it. Going down Chicago line. Oh, that's so great. And so we do that, and then we do put those 2 parts together, and then I say, and it's a brand new train, and it's sparkly, and it's so pretty, and I go, see it sparkle, see it shine. Oh, the lights must be flashing. Oh, how exciting. And so we're doing that, and then engine number 9. We put it all together. We do that in the first week. So in this second week, I sort of review it, and they're like, yeah, we know it. I say, I'm going to add a second part. You know part A, you know the first part, and that's the poem, and we do the poem one more time. Part B, the second part, goes like this. You know that part, don't you? And they're like, yeah, we just did it in line. Yeah, you did. Okay, so the part A is the poem, and then in between, we're going to do our and eventually we'll be standing up and the part A will stop and look in the middle of the circle and say the poem. Part B will sort of walk around the carpet and then we'll stop. Eventually I bring in a train whistle, one of those little wooden ones, you can get them anywhere. But I do that, and so we'll do and then do, and then that's their signals like we're going back to part A. That takes a couple weeks. That's a little bit later on, but that's where eventually we're going, is an ABA, basically, pattern with the poem, the which I just sort of made up a couple years ago, and then the poem again. They love engine number 9. Sometimes I'll bring out a train visual, sometimes I won't. It depends. Sometimes I bring up a picture of Thomas the Tank Engine. Some kids know that and some don't, but he has a number on the side, and so that they make that visual, and either that visual can be great or it can be a big distraction. So I played around. Like I said last week, I like doing like an A-B test with classes where like I'll try it with a visual with one and without a visual with the other, and if it works or if it doesn't work, I'll just keep going with that idea, if that makes sense. Whichever one works better, visual or not, I try it and then I go forward with that. So we do our engine number 9. We do our seating chart spots, again, because I want to get their pictures because I really don't know their names. And so I take their pictures and that's great. And one of the things I do for kindergarten is if I really need to, I'll walk my iPad down to kindergarten hallway after school and I'll ask the kindergarten teacher, be like, can you help me drag their faces onto the names because I'm really trying, but it's not working so well. What I do, I have a printout when I bring them over of like the dots and then their names. And that's why I say like, okay, Aubrey's here and whoever is here and whoever's here and whoever's here. And then I take their picture in order, sort of so that I know like bing, 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 bing. You can take 4 at a time. So I take little clusters and then I can go back later and be like, I don't know who this kid is, but they're sitting in a spot for Aubrey, so I'm gonna assume it's Aubrey. And if not, I'll change it later. And so that's what I do, especially for kindergarten and first grade. Then if we have time, we'll scoot over to another part of the room and we do the finger play called Open Shut Them. There are a couple reasons I do this. One, it's another song they're pretty successful at pretty quickly, but the second reason is that it teaches them how to use and or not use their hands in our class. And so by that I mean, don't touch my stuff, don't touch other people, keep your hands in your spot. And actually, the very first week when we sit down, at the beginning of the lesson, when we finally do the circle song and sit down, I say, oh my goodness, you're all doing crisscross applesauce, great job. And they're like, yeah, we learned this like 2 days ago, so like we're doing good, or like maybe we learned this today, or you know. And so I say, crisscross applesauce, you know what, saying that makes me hungry. Can you pretend that your lap, where your legs are crisscross, is a bowl of applesauce? And they're like, okay, this guy's weird, but sure. And then I say, all right, so, but if we're going to have applesauce, we're going to need some spoons. We don't have any. Can you turn your hands into spoons? And dip one in and have a little bit of applesauce. Okay, great. Dip it. That was so good. Have another. And then we eat the whole bowl clean. And then I say, now let's do crisscross applesauce spoons in the bowl. And that's the first way that I teach them keep your hands to yourself, basically. It's because we sit crisscross. And some people say hands in your lap, but I don't know, spoons in the bowl they remember a lot better because they think it's, I don't know, it's silly, it's memorable. So we do that, spoons in the bowl. That happens the first week. This second week we do open shut them, which is a fun little finger play, and it goes like this. Open shut them, open shut them, give a little clap, clap, clap. Open shut them, open shut them, put them in your lap, lap, lap. Now for a lot of people, this is a preschool song. Most of my kids don't do preschool, so it's a me song. And I love it because it's really quick, and it talks about opening and shutting hands, and then putting them in your lap. Great. And we're in control. Oh, we're so in control of our hands. We are the ones. We have complete control because we are so big and smart now, so we're the ones in control of our hands. We teach them how to open and shut, which is so good. We're doing so good. Okay, so then I actually don't introduce it by singing. I say, okay, great. You're sitting here, before I've even sung the song or doing anything, I say, great. Take your hands and open them and shut them. Oh, good. Open and shut. Oh, wonderful. Open, shut, open, shut, open, open, open. Oh, I got you. And put them in your lap. Oh, good. And open and put them in your lap. And we just sort of do that back and forth a little bit. And they say, oh, I have a song about exactly what you're doing, I think. I want you to take your hands, and as I'm singing, I want to see if you can match my words. So then I sing through. I sang it for you to sort of just give you the idea. But then as I sing it the first time, they're sort of doing it with me. Okay, so then our hands are in control. We do that first part a couple times. And then I say, oh, you are so in control of your hands. I am so impressed with you, kindergartners. You are really good, Miss whoever's class. Oh, man. But you know what? Sometimes when you're not paying attention, sometimes your hands start to wander, and that's what our hands are doing. Watch my hands. And then it goes like this. Creep them. So we just did open, shut them, give a little clap, 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 open, shut them, put them in your lap, lap, lap. And then I say, oh, some of them are creep away, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes, creep them, creep them, creep them, creep them, up to your chin, chin, chin. Where are these hands going? What are they trying to do? And I say, I think I know what they're trying to do. Open up your little mouth, but do not put them in. Because, and then I say, oh, because some kids, they're just sitting so nice with their hands in their lap or their spoons in their bowl. And then I turn around and I look back and they have a finger in their mouth. And we don't want to do that because, germs, Mostly I just, this is me prepping them, please don't get your gross germy hands all over my stuff. So, but I say oh, they're creeping up, they're out of control, they're coming up to our chin, and then they're trying to get in our mouth. Oh, put your hands in your mouth. And you always gonna have a couple kids in kindergarten who are like thumb suckers, so this is also a reminder for them. Don't do that. And then we go back to open, shut them, another ABA song in this lesson. So we do the open, shut them, and then the creep them, creep them, which I talk about what creeping is, and it's like sneaking around. And then we do open, shut them. They love it. Before we're done for the day, we scoot over and we see our friend Peter, who taught us the Little Rabbit poem last week. I saw a little rabbit go hop, 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 and Peter comes out. And Peter says, I'm so excited to see you. I'm so glad that you came back. Oh, this is so wonderful because I have such important things to tell you. I'm here to talk about your speaking voice. Oh, it's so great. The speaking voice is the very best of all the speaking voices. And I say, Peter, but that's your opinion. Well, no, it's my opinion, but I'm right. Speaking voice is the best of the voices. I did a whole video about this, so I'm not going to go completely into this. But Peter the Rabbit comes out and talks to us about why speaking voice is the best. We have fun with Peter. Peter explains. Actually, Peter does a quick little intro of all four of the voices: speaking voice, whisper voice, shouting voice, and singing voice. I think I said all those right. And then Peter reminds kids, speaking voice is the best. And he has a little poem that goes, speaking voice is the best. It's better than all the rest. And then the kids go, speaking voice is the best. It's better than all the rest. Like I said, I did a whole live video about this, and you can go back and find that in your feed. I'll put a link to that. But Peter does this, and Peter intros, and then he warns the kids and says, Peter says, now, I'm going to tell you, you might see somebody next week who tells you that another voice is better. They're wrong! You need to learn that speaking voice is the best. And if you see someone who says, ooh, singing voice is the best, I love singing voice, well then you just tell them, no, Peter taught me speaking voice is the best. It's better than all the rest. And so then they go into that. And so next week they're going to meet, I think it's Snowy the Owl, who's going to teach them the singing voice is the best, and they're going to love it. Then we take a little time at the end of the class to figure out how to get in line, to do our line stuff. I even have a blog post about how we do in line to get them in their line spots. I have a boys line and a girls line. They line up underneath the line, the colorful tape on the ceiling that I put. I have 4 lines on the ceiling. Girls go into the blue line, boys go into the green line, and then I say repeat after me, and I go chicken, and they make a chicken. And then I say airplane, and they do airplane. And then I say soldier, and they do soldier. And then I repeat it, chicken, airplane, soldier. And then I say, ooh, I'm going to add a new one. Show me bunny. Or maybe I go, or try and do my best bunny impression. And I'm like, great, chicken, airplane, bunny. And they're just repeating this. But basically, it's to get all of their eyes on me and all of their hands where I want them. So we do chicken, airplane, soldier. We might throw in bunny or whatever. And then I do airplane, soldier. And then I do, and now put your bumpers up. Oh, good. And now put a bubble in your mouth. And so when their teacher shows up at the door, I have a separate boys line, a separate girls line. They are completely straight because they've looked up right above them to see the color on the ceiling. They know they're right under it. They have their bumpers up and their bubbles in their mouth. And that's what their teacher finds. She's dropped off a line of crying kindergartners and she comes back to like soldiers with their bumpers up. And it is always hilarious and I love it. So then I did a blog post about this, but then eventually I'll add in chicken, airplane, bear, or chicken, airplane, owl. Whoo, whoo. And actually the puppets they meet, they get a mimic or whatever. And we can add in more each week and it gets really hilarious when we get to like jack-o'-lantern or whatever. But the kids like it and it's silly and it's fun and it gets them in line and it makes them not think that they're lining up. They think it's like a game. So hooray for that. And that's basically my kindergarten lesson. I'm just going to quick look through here for questions. Oh, yes. Applesauce trick. It's magic. I don't know how I ended on that. It's hilarious. You could probably do cereal or something else if you wanted. I don't know. But applesauce, they know that anyway. Keeping your hands to yourself. It's those little things that I just try and mix into lessons anyway that they really like. Christina asked, do the dots stick to your floor all year? I actually have a carpet. It's a rug. And it has dots on it. So I don't do the sit spots because I don't have carpet. I wish I did. But you can get sit spots. They're magic if you have carpet. But the dots are, yes, they stick because they're part of the rug. So it sort of answers that. But if you look at my Instagram, you can see pictures of that. Let's see. Part B of the engine number 9. I don't know, it works. It's great. And it's fun because you can add the movement in that they're actually moving their feet, and then the train whistle is their signal to go back to the middle to do part A. Love that. Picture of the train. I sort of talked about that, Emily. Thanks for asking that question to make you think about that. Real life experiences, yes. Smoking jacket. It's at the cleaners, D, so I'm working on that. Because I know I said PD in your PJs. I'm not in my PJs, but... yeah, great. Okay, so I've tried to get through a bunch of questions, sort of, or comment on them. If you have questions, please leave them here in the comments, and I'll come back to them. Okay, I'll say that, and then I'll tell you some of my yarn ball tricks. So, yarn ball. If you're making a yarn ball, let me quick grab my yarn ball equipment. So, I did a whole blog post about this, but I wanted to just sort of show you. So, to make my yarn ball, sorry, hope you're still with me. To make my yarn ball, I have these sort of discs made out of cardboard. This is an old one. But I take them like this, and I have all the directions in my blog post, so I won't go through all of it. But you wrap the discs with yarn, and it's going to end up looking sort of like this. This is before I've cut it. I always take these really big zip ties. These are, they're really big zip ties. These are 14-inch, because I make big yarn balls. I don't do the little pom-pommy ones. So I always try and wrap it like twice in case one breaks. I've never had a yarn ball fall apart, but I'm waiting for the day where it does. And I don't know, I'll have to like have a memorial service for that kindergarten class, I don't know. So this is what it looks like before you cut around the edge and zip tie. So if you get to this point, you're like, is that right? Yeah, that's right. This actually is made with a yarn like this, where it's like multiple colors in one skein, which is great, because then you'll get a multicolored yarn ball, which I personally prefer. One year when I was at one school where our colors were purple and yellow, I did this, which is just purple and just yellow. And the way that I did that was I did like yellow, 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 and then I did purple, 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 and that's hard to say, and then, then one color and another. And it ends up looking sort of like this, where you can sort of see there's like a swath of one, a swath of another, and that's really cool. Another time I took yarn, it was like that really soft yarn that has like the silver wrapping around it, and if you look at how cool this one turned out, and it's sort of hard to see in this video, but each little strand is like still a little bit wrapped in silver, and the kids like love this one. So when I say like magic yarn ball and I pull this out, they're like, oh my god. And so that one's really fun. But what I would suggest is if you're going to be making your own at home, that you maybe, well, I would look at the blog post because it has like dimensions and stuff, I think, and then start here and choose a yarn that's like cheap, like go to the end of the aisle at Hobby Lobby and choose a really cheap one, and just try it out and see what you come up with. Hopefully the directions are clear, and you'll get a really cool option. Yeah, those are my yarn ball tricks. But like I said, yarn balls are really fun. I use them for a lot of things. For K1 and 2, we'll pass them around. We'll do steady beat with them. For older grades, I might toss one and say like, you know, okay, well, whoever I toss the yarn ball to gets to give a great answer to whatever. And so I toss it, or you can toss it to the bead. Or, I mean, you can do a million things with it. And when you have one, you're like, man, what can I use this for? There are a lot of uses. And kids, sometimes if I have a kid who like gets bonked in the nose or whatever, I'll let him sit in my comfy chair and hold the yarn ball, or use it as a prize. It's a lot of fun things for that. Okay, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for coming along on the ride this week. Please leave comments in the video and I'll try and answer them. Or if you have a comment about something you want to send me a message, go right ahead. The winner of the Magic Yarn Ball this week, I only have their email and it's SG Burris. So I'm gonna, I don't know, maybe it's Samara, maybe it's Steven, I don't know, but I'm gonna send you an email, and I'm gonna get that yarn ball out to you. So I'll send you an email, get your address, and send that out to you. Oh, and somebody just asked, Becky asked how much yarn. One? No, I do two. So what I do is, I've got them lined up. I pull from them at the same time. So I have two pieces of yarn, 2 strings, and I'll do like wrap, 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 2 at a time. It makes it go twice as fast, and you get done a lot quicker, and you can do it while you're watching, I don't know, CSI and having an adult beverage or whatever, or you can do it on the patio. I don't know what your life is. On my free time, I talk about music education. So anyway, but you can wrap and do that anytime, and I do 2 at once because it makes it a lot faster. Okay, so congratulations to SG, and I'll reach out to you. If you have questions, please leave them. And like I said, the link to the place with all the notes and things is in the comments here, and also you can find it on my blog if you look up Musical Mondays Recap. All right, well, I'll see you next Monday, where I will not be talking about kindergarten or 2nd grade. Maybe leave a comment about what you want to hear more about. I'll probably do an upper grade, 4th or 5th or 3rd or something. But thanks so much. Have a great night and have a great week, everyone.